Hi guys, welcome back. So glad to have you guys here. So excited to share some of the questions that you guys have been sending me. Thank you guys so much again for all of the love and support you guys have given us over the years, over the months that we've, trying to grow on our social media platform. So just to give you guys a little bit of background, I did get a lot of questions. I know I posted yesterday a story about, me giving a presentation on the weight loss injections. So I did not expect that so many questions to come through, but I'm so glad that you guys are asking them. You're wondering whether these drugs are good for you or not, or should you take them? And if so, how long do you have to be on them, right? So I know there's this hot topic. And I'm going to address a few of those questions today because I definitely want to make sure that I give you guys some answers. But also, I think what I'm also be doing is in our YouTube channel, I'm going to post the actual talk that I gave. In there, I go into extensive detail as to how the medications work, who they were intended for, how to misuse them. I mean, how to use them, how people are misusing them in my professional opinion. And remember, guys, I'm not either for nor against the weight loss injections, right? I just want to make sure that people understand. The effects that these medications are going to have of them, right? I feel like with anything in life, right, we can make an educated decision once we know, hey, is this good for me? Is this not good for me, right? Think of, and I like to think of these medications the same way you would think of any, legal drug, right? Let's take, for example, alcohol or, caffeine, right? These are all, things that we seem perfectly legal and safe to take, right? But in high amounts and in high dosages, right, they are going to have a different effect on you, right? So, and also I want you guys to think who are these medications intended for, right? I feel like that part, at least I haven't heard too many people speak about, like, hey, these were meant for, type 2 diabetic, the type 2 diabetic person, right? So if you're not a type 2 diabetic person, right, these may not be the best options for you, right? Now, there are underlying conditions that are similar to those that a type 2 diabetic can I don't want to say suffer with, but can deal with, right? So, for example, the underlying condition with type 2 diabetes is what we call insulin resistance. And in the video where I give the talk, I go into extensive detail as to how it is and, how, that works in the human body, what happens when somebody has that, right? So for example, let's just take, the medication Manjaro. I definitely have had patients who are not type 2 diabetic, but that have taken them under the supervision of myself and their primary care provider. Those people usually have some degree of insulin resistance, such as PCOS patients and so forth, right? Now, because the PCOS diagnosis and diabetes type 2 diagnosis are a bit differently, right? But one of the things that they do share in common is that they do have that insulin resistance. Now, not everybody has the same degree of insulin resistance, and I think that's where things can get a little tricky. So I definitely recommend for you guys to watch the video. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know any questions that you have, because I'll definitely will be more than happy to answer them here. So yeah, so just think of, that, and think of it in terms of, like I said, let's take caffeine, for example. Who was caffeine intended for, right? If we look at the way caffeine works in our system, it actually works on our central nervous systems, right? It makes us think that we're not tired when we actually are, right? So it blocks those receptors. So we are still tired, we just don't feel it, and our brain is not getting that feedback that you are in fact tired, right? Just like with caffeine, if you consume it at high dosages, it's thought to be not good, right? So, for example, with caffeine and specifically, right, we want to make sure that at least what the FDA has recommended is that a 300 milligram for an adult is the absolutely max. Now, think about how that applies differently from person to person, right? A way shorter person, right, that's gonna have a bigger effect than a way taller person, right? So just the same way that, this quote unquote caffeine drug, right, can give you that pick me up, if you consume too much of it, right, past a 300 milligram range, what's going to happen is you're going to get jittery, you're going to get heart palpitations, right? And those are physical signs that your body's giving us that, hey, things are not right here, right? So the same way, like I said, it can be, properly used. Caffeine can be, misused, and even for some professional athletes, right? So if you guys know of the WADA, that's the anti-doping agency that's in charge of testing professional athletes, NCAA athletes, and so forth, right? If they see that this athlete has been consuming caffeine at high amounts, right, they actually will ding them. in terms of consuming like what they call, like, they don't call it an illegal substance, but in a substance out of range, right? So, caffeine in and of itself, it's not illegal, right? But it can be misused at high dosages, right? So when you think of the whole thing of, with the weight loss medications, right? Are they being properly used or are they being misused? Because it can easily happen depending on who you are, what your physiology is. So check out that. I will be probably posting in the next couple of days. I want to edit a few things and add some resources in there for you guys. So check that in that presentation out, so you guys can educate yourselves. And I give this presentation to a panel of both professionals and the general public. So I definitely go back and forth a lot into using scientific language and layman's terms, right? Because a lot of the people are like, well, what does that mean, right? I even, kind of sketch things out and put things out in a diagram for people to understand a little bit better. But I wanted to kind of touch on some of the questions. Hi everyone, thank you guys for joining us. So some of the questions that you guys have been sending me, remember, you guys can send the questions via DM. You can ask them on our platform during the IG live, right? Any which ways, I'll try to answer as many questions as I can during this half hour, right? So one of the questions that we got from one of our viewers was, how do I know if I'm eating correctly for fat loss? I'm guessing you have probably heard me say that weight loss is not equal fat loss, right? So let me kind of dive into that a little bit more. So whenever you are in a calorie deficit, right, you're going to lose weight. Now, what determines whether that weight that's being lost is either muscle or lean mass, right, or technically water too, right, is the composition of your macronutrients, right? Now, this composition is going to differ from person to person for a lot of different reasons. We take into consideration how active they are, how much lean mass they have, and how active they are in a daily basis. Like whether, let me give you an example, not just activity in terms of exercise, but in daily activity, right? So for example, somebody that's sitting down, shooting videos or seeing patients via telehealth, right, is not going to burn as many calories as a construction worker, right? So they're going to have different energy needs. Now, if you have a clinical conditions, we have to also take that, because with a clinical conditions, that may mean that your body cannot metabolize, so break down and absorb, right, a specific macronutrient properly, whether it be proteins, carbs, fats. So we know that there's a wide array of that. So we definitely do take that into consideration there. So there's no one answer that fits all, right? That's why we encourage you guys. In our link in our bio, we have that link to schedule a 20-minute free consultation. And that's just for everybody. We want to make sure that we guide you guys in the best direction possible, right? And we want to make sure that you guys are equipped to live the lifestyle that you guys want. So if you want to use that, to see if your macronutrient range is in order, by all means, you guys are more than welcome to use that. So yes, so one of the things that you can make sure to our viewer that senses this is that your macronutrient distribution is right for your goal and for what your body needs, okay? So I can't, determine what that is because I don't have that information from you, but please reach out to us and schedule that free consultation to make sure we can guide you in the right direction. Another question that came from our viewers in terms of, I know this viewer probably saw that I'm pregnant, and that, she's wondering how does nutrition change? So that's a really, really, wide topic, right? And I've uploaded some YouTube videos to kind of show you guys, a few things that change in pregnancy. And as a matter of fact, a lot of things, change in pregnancy, but one of the biggest underlying ones is your actual physiology, right? And even your anatomy. It's probably the only time during a woman's life, right, where both will change drastically, because your joints do become looser, right? Thanks to a hormone called relaxin that our placenta makes, right? Your joints are becoming, loose, so the baby can expand and can grow inside of you, and this will enable you to give birth, right? This means that things will have to change in terms of how you move. Like, you might see women towards the end of their pregnancy water a little more, right? They're shifting a lot more weight that they had before, back and forth, right? So exercising can definitely be done during pregnancy. Now, here's the big one, and actually I'm going to make a more extensive video on this, because I feel like this is where a lot of education can really help a lot of people. Once you become pregnant and you guys go to your OBGYN, okay, and please confirm this with your OBGYN once you do get pregnant, okay, they advise you to not start anything new in terms of physical activity, right? So anything that you're used to doing in the past or from, from the point before we got pregnant, it seemed for, okay for you to do. Now, obviously, if this is something that you did 10 years ago and you haven't done it since, right, that doesn't qualify. But if you're consistently working out, then you have a catalog, right, of exercises that you can choose from. Now, this is huge, right? And this is one of the reasons why we advise our young women and women of childbearing ages is to build up that catalog of exercises by exercising regularly, right? Because during the pregnancy, things can change, become a little too loosey-goosey, right? And you may not be able to do all of the exercises, right? But now at least you have a wide variety to choose from based on the ones that you can and cannot do, based on that, professional supervision that you guys will be getting from your doctors. So I'm actually under the care of not just my OB. Shout out to Dr. Diana Tran Kim. She's been amazing throughout the whole pregnancy. So supportive. Thank you. We appreciate you. But I've also been under the care of two physical therapists that specialize in pelvic floor, right? So these doctors of physical therapy have guided me into not just which exercise to do by trimester, the way, my body's shifting, but I actually, tweaked up my SI joint right before becoming pregnant, right? So there's some exercises that I, was able to do right before pregnancy, but now I should no longer do them because of that joint getting a little bit more loose than normal, right? So this is what I say, that it's really, really, really important for you young gals, right? That, maybe somewhere down and then in the future want to have children, to start building this healthier, active lifestyle, because this is something that you're going to take with you into your pregnancy months. And then during pregnancy, right, like I said, your physiology changes dramatically. You make a whole nother organ called the placenta, right? And you're feeding that baby consistently. You're feeding yourself consistently, right? So everything changes in terms of your energy needs, right? And this is when we walk you guys through that by trimester, saying, hey, okay, so this is what your baby needs. This is what your body needs. And we do take in consideration all of that. Here at Veris Wellness, myself and the other dietitians, we do look at how active you are, because the research on this is actually, there's some research, but not a lot of research on active pregnancy women out there, right? So we're gathering enough evidence to hopefully, propose to the IRB, where we can compile more data to say, hey, this is how we properly feed an active individual that is also pregnant, so that the pregnancy will be, great, to term, meaning the baby will gain the amount of weight necessary, right? You guys probably remember me talking in that earlier video that I posted in the week about, you are supposed to gain a healthy amount of weight if you're in that normal BMI range, right? And you fall a little bit out of that into the overweight or obesity category, there are different parameters in terms of weight gain that they advise for you guys. So this is where I say working with a doctor, working with a dietitian is super, super, super important, because they know how the physiology of that woman is changing. Okay. And this is great. Like I said, I know, in my opinion, if an active woman is going to stay active through her pregnancy, right, I would love for her to be under the care of her primary care provider, her OB in this case, right, a pelvic floor therapist, a dietitian, and a personal trainer, right, because they're going to guide her. I was a personal trainer for a very, very long time, right, so I definitely have that background and know how to modify some things. But even then, there's a lot of things I don't know in terms of how pregnancy changes my physiology, in terms of biomechanics, in terms of body movement, right? So this is where Dr. Odell and Dr. Heather LaPage have come in and helped me out, right? So you can definitely stay active right now. Like I said, every pregnancy is different, right? Even within the same woman, and every pregnant woman is going to be different. So don't feel sad if you're like, oh my gosh, they're doing this, and I can't do that. No. Focus on what you can, and when you can't control and when you can do. Let me give you an example. I used to love taking like quick 20-minute runs. I some days can't do that because of my SI joint will flare up, right? And the pounding that my body takes into running on the pavement, right, or even on the treadmill, it'll be too much for my SI joints to take. So in that case, I say, hey, no biggie. Let me hop on the elliptical, right, or on the bike or on the rower, and that satisfies my cardio route. So definitely there are a lot of ways for you guys to stay empowered, to stay healthy, and stay strong during your pregnancy. So this other question came from another one of our viewers talking about the use of supplements. Okay, so in terms specifically creatine, and she asked, is creatine needed to gain muscle mass? So creatine is one of the supplements that actually has been heavily studied, and we do see that it has what we call an ergogenic effect, right? Meaning that it's going to help. It is going to help, and it has been proven to help muscle building, right? I know there's a lot of research. I know a lot of my ladies, once we actually coin down the nutrition that they need, and they do that first, right? So I would say this is true for any man or woman out there, right? We need to make sure that your nutrition is into place before we add on any supplements, okay? Now, there are three main different types of creatine out there that are being marketed. The best one to build muscle is creatine monohydrate. Now, creatine itself does not have a direct impact in muscle building. It's actually a secondary effect that it has on it, okay? What creatine does, and I'm going to get a little sciencey, but if I lose you, let me know, okay? So what creatine does, it helps build that formation of the ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, right? These are the little energy molecules, right? So because creatine lets out a phosphate to attach to that ADP, adenosine diphosphate, so two. So 2 diphosphate becomes 3, right? This energy molecule, right, ATP, is what then fuels the muscle rebuilding process. Okay, so that's where that evidence comes from. That's where that helps come from. Now, if you're taking creatine but you're not eating sufficient amounts of protein, guess what? You're really just going to pee that creatine down the drain, and it's not going to be sufficient for you, right? So that's why I say we first need to dial the nutrition, and then we need to look at the supplements and see if you need them, and what you need them, and how you need them, and what amounts, right? So make sure that you are first looking at that, right? Now, in terms of muscle building, right? So women and men are going to have a different rate of muscle building. Men, because they have testosterone, more testosterone than women, right? They're going to build that muscle faster, right? So that's why even if a woman were to take creatine, which I definitely did in the past and have done and will continue to do once I have this baby, right? And I'll tell you guys why in just a second, right? We still don't have that testosterone hormone. So regardless of how much protein, I eat and how much creatine I take, right? I'm only going to be able to build muscle so fast, right? So I want to make sure that we also set the expectation right for what our body needs, right? Now, let's go back into the safety and efficacy of creatine. Completely safe. There is actually here in the U.S., and it's not in the U.S., I should say, it's this company it's stationed out of England. So this company is who the WADA uses, so that anti-doping agency, to test supplements for banned substances, okay, and banned and impure supplements, okay. The name of that company is called Informed Choice. And if you Google Informed Choice, you will see that they have like it looks almost like a Nike sign logo, right, with a person running on it, right? All of the supplement brands in the US that say, hey, I want to I want to do the right thing, and I want to get my product tested so that my consumers know that there are no banned substances, no illegal substances, right? In terms of being in the actual supplement, right? I'm going to go ahead and tell this Informed Choice company, hey, test my product. And what Informed Choice does is they literally buy a product out of the shelf, like any consumer would, and they taste it in the lab for those banned substances and impurities, right? I would say the biggest red flag that I have seen in supplements is when I read in the label proprietary blend, because by law, that company does not have to disclose what they put in that supplement. So you actually really do not know what you're taking, right? And trust me, chemicals can interact in your body in a very, weird and, weird and crazy kind of way, and not just supplements, but supplements can also interact with food. Although we just think of this as yummy things that we eat, they're also chemical compounds, so you have to be very, very careful. And let me give you an example. This is why when people sometimes go into rehab, right, for let's say like a cocaine addiction, they give them blocks of sugar, because sugar at a specific amount will have the same pick-me-up effect from that, right? So this is one of the ways in which we see with food or any chemical compound in this case, right, can interact in your body. So be very, very, very careful with supplements. Remember, supplements are not regulated by the FDA, because the FDA is the Food and Drug Administration. So this administration is in charge of testing food and drugs. Supplements are neither or nor. They're not going to consider a food nor a drug. So that's why they are different councils that the FDA has, such as the Council for Responsible Nutrition, right? But if it were me, and this is what I do for all of my supplements that I take, right? I do buy from those brands, and there's a big list of brands. Okay, if you guys go to the Informed Choice website and you download that list of brands, there's a lot of them out there that they do put their product to assess, and I feel like I just feel safe knowing that everything that I'm taking is good. Okay, so we have time for one more question. Hi guys, thank you guys for joining us. Okay, so this also came from the weight loss injection post that I put. So guys, remember, yes, that I'm gonna be posting that presentation that I did. But this lady asked me, are these drugs really safe to take? Okay. So let me answer this in two different ways. I'm going to give you the scientific answer, right? And then I'm going to give you my own professional opinion. Okay. So are they safe? Yes. The Food and Drug Administration, right, has approved a list of weight loss drugs. Now, remember, not all of these, and there's actually only 2 that have been approved for weight loss. And it's not just weight loss by itself, right? If you look at the FDA release, and I include that in my presentation, right, it's weight loss with paired with one of other 3 conditions. So you have to have either weight loss in hypertension, weight loss in high cholesterol, in weight loss or diabetes type 2, right? So this is not just for the person whose BMI is over 25 or who's considered overweight, okay? Now, the reason why these drugs have been are safe for these people is because these people's physiology has changed due to the disease, and this is where the medication comes in and tries to correct that, right? So if a normal person without obesity and type 2 diabetes, without obesity and high cholesterol, without we want to be very, very careful in terms of, I'm so sorry guys, in terms of are they safe or not? The best place I can guide you for this is ask your primary care provider, right, if it's safe for you and why, right? We want to make sure we're being educated. We want to make sure that you're using them in the right dosages and that you're tapering on. Remember that the FDA research that that showed that this drug was safe, it showed that this drug would be taking into incrementations, right? And this is where your provider is going to be able to guide you how fast or slow you should, increase the dosage in. So I hope this helped, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Remember, we are here every third Friday of the month, okay, to answer any questions. You guys can DM us your questions ahead of time. You guys can, share them here as you guys join us live. But once again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys next time.